Hello again. Thought I'd do a presentation on turntables, N scale. Looked at a few, some pricey, some all pre-built. Thought I wanted a little bit more of a challenge, so I decided to go with the Peco, the NB55. You can do this one either manually or motorize it. I thought I'm going to try to use a stepper motor, Arduino control board, and see if we can make this work. Probably do two presentations, one building the kit and the other one trying to get it in operation. Don't quite have room on my layout right now. I'm going to expand it, but I plan on building a little test board and get that up and going, and then when I do get the room to add on to my layout, I can drop this in there. So let me show you what's in the kit, and we'll kind of continue on from there. Okay, here we have the parts that were inside the box. I've already moved them from the plastic pieces, kind of cleaned the flashing off, the supports. Start with the pan. Sturdy. Has just a slight lip in here that the side girder pieces are going to ride on. Electrical connections go down here. We'll kind of cover that when we get to there. Comes with a bag of parts. I actually removed them from the other plastic piece, put them in a little Ziploc. Very well done. Very nice. An interesting way that they do make contact from the bridge itself to get power for the tracks. Get your two side girders. The table itself, very nicely done. They actually give you three of these rails. I thought that was kind of interesting. They taper the edges, so it looks like it should be easy for the train to get on and off. And very well machined. That rail slipped in there very, very easily. They tell you to make sure you don't have any burrs on it. So we'll work on that. These are kind of, I'll call them your pillar block. This one's going to kind of turn on, and they get the electrical connection back through that. I'll talk a little bit more about those in a minute or two. So your extra rails, they give you ones to go on there plus an extra one, so you have two of those. And your handrails. So very nicely done. And here's the Arduino, it's a small microprocessor that'll just do simple jobs for you, but fairly powerful. So we'll have to do some programming, learning curve, use what's called a motor shield to be able to drive the motor. The Arduino doesn't really have enough power to do that, so you have to bring the 12 volts into here, and the stepper motor itself, you can see the height of it there. And we're going to have to make a coupling to go between the two, but we'll get that done. So that is the Arduino that we're going to attempt to program. Okay, I wanted to talk about a couple of parts before I started the assembly process on this. On your bridge, what I call pillar block, or this is kind of what everything's going to ride on, is this small piece. And it does have a notch here for you to put that on. I actually had a little hard time to get that. I had a small piece of flashing that was on there. It took me a while to find it, to get that piece to fit in there nice and firm. But that's kind of the first thing they want you to put on to start the gluing process, is to install that. And then the second part is to put the bottom of that pillar block together. And it can only go on one way, but there's a slight step in here that recesses up into there. And very, very tight fit. I really had to go do some looking, and maybe I haven't put the glue on there yet, but and maybe that'll make it slide a little bit easier. But just pushing it with the fingers may be a little bit tough to get that all the way down. I'm even looking at possibly using a small clamp on it to make sure I get it seated all the way down. And then I just as to start looking at this, once you have glued that, I would make sure that this is the same distance all the way around between these two pieces. It should sit flat on there. So once I get that together, I'm going to put that together first. Then I'm going to install that mechanism here on the board. Actually, where I'm going to start next is I'm going to take this to the paint shop and get my paintwork done first before I start the actual assembly. And I think we'll try to mix up a gray, concrete-looking mixture here. I was kind of hoping this would be maybe railroad ties, but it's not. It's a wood surface. I'm going to try to make a wood grain surface on here, and these being flat black around the edges here. Handrails, probably make those kind of a dirty yellow, dirty safety yellow type. So let's get started on the paint process, and we'll take a look at it when I get back. Okay, we have most of the paint work done. Just wanted to show you kind of grade around the outside, and then use some weathering powder to kind of dirty up the bottom. I'll give that a thin coat of matte color. The sides for the bridge, we just took some flat paint, flat black, sprayed those out. Plastic looks like plastic, but when you give it a little bit of character, it looks good. And the other one, I may give some little bit of rust marks maybe on that, not sure. The bridge itself, used a flat earth tone paint to go across, and then used a light wash, black wash. In fact, it was actually from doing my rocks. The black wash 32:1, and just gave it a couple of real light coats with a paintbrush, and kind of got it to give a little definition there. And real quick on the bridge, what I did do before I started this, I cut a couple of real thin pieces of masking tape and just laid them down in there, just so when the track goes back in, won't have any problem. So I'll lift that out. I may give it one more light coat of matte finish on that. And here's that the bearing block, pillar block. I actually put this together, checked all four corners, made sure that they were even, and then I put a drop of glue down inside and let that set up. So I'm going to get ready to put this on the bottom of the bridge, and we'll continue on with the next part here. Okay, I slipped the track in the bridge just to see how that will look. I did glue the pedestal bearing on the back here. Got that all in place. Fits very nice, good fit. And next we'll take the bridge sides, and we're going to install those on there. I've test fitted them, they work very well. And then after that, we're going to pull these tracks out. There's a spring and little plunger brass that go down through here that's going to make our electrical contact down to the pan. I've also have the handrails. I got those finished up. I'm not going to install those until I actually get all the way to the layout, and they're kind of delicate, so I think I'll wait on putting those on. Be back as soon as I get this stuff glued up. Okay, I've got the side supports for the bridge put on, glued, and our next step is to get the electrical contacts in here, and we'll push the rail back over it. Okay, this is what we're going to try to assemble here. A little brass pin, a spring, and the contact down here, and we'll drop that through there. They say to help hold that in place, X-Acto knife with a sharp point on it, and then slide the rail back on. Okay, here's the contact, the spring, and then the upper contact. Okay, if you probably do this, it's probably a third hand. I thought I could support the bridge and the pan while I assembled this, but that it did not work. I dropped the lower contact in, the spring in next, and then the upper contact. If you had kind of a third hand while you hold that down in there, and then slide the rail up across there. And that one went in real nice. Down below here, there's the contact. Spring action to it, very nice. Also, on your rails, before you get ready to do this final process, I took a file and, about a 30-degree angle or so, just took a little bit off the edge there to make it a little bit easier contact for when the train comes in. Okay, here are the electrical contacts that the bridge is going to make contact with. They make them pretty nice. We have to do a little bending. They give you a couple spots. They show you where to bend. And those are going to go down and lay in here. So let me get those bent, and we'll install those, do an electrical check, make sure everything's working correctly. Okay, I've bent the little copper pieces and put them in. You slide that in there, actually 3 places to go through. On the back side, you fold over the ends. I used a pair of needle nose. Make sure you have it tight. You kind of pull up a little bit and then bend it over both ends. I also recommend, I noticed that the center of mine wanted to stick up just a little bit, so I pulled that up and used my needle nose, just kind of put a little bit of an offset in there to hold that in position. There, so we're actually going to hook. Okay, I've got my test leads hooked up. Ohm meter, and that one we're making. Okay, we're making contact with both of them. Very good. This would also be kind of a good way to find out where your dead spot is. You can rotate that around and find out where it. Oh, right there. So. Okay, thought I'd put some final comments in here on the Peco NB55. About the only thing I have left to do. They do give you a small collar here, and to put that on, use a light amount. Make sure it don't put it real tight, but it's supposed to just fit on there. I'm not going to install that until I get ready to actually put this on my layout. The one thing I do notice with the copper rings is that it seems to, before it used to kind of sit down flat. I guess you just want to take that much out of it when you put that ring on there. I'm kind of wondering if maybe a little bit of a wax around here would make this. It turns really very, very free, and make sure you do have full rotation with it. I think I will also put some type of an oil stain down here where I know that the bridge does not make contact, so I know that when I do get ready to install this, not to have the bridge in that area. So, you know, it's a great kit, well made. I'm kind of anxious to get it on the layout and see how it works, either manually or, say, part 2 will be trying to get the Arduino motor hooked up to operate this. So, job well done by Peco. Thank you very much for watching. Have a good day, and we'll see you in part 2.